everybody, Jerry here from Savage TCG, and I am here to bring you a deck tech. Today, this is one of my favorite decks. It was actually my first combo deck that I've made, like 100%, like no proxies or anything like that can actually be classified as combo, and this is my Sultai villainous wealth deck. Now, this deck is really fun, but it does have a lot of issues with like heavy removal decks, since your combo pieces are creatures, and so those can be a problem. Fatal Push kills basically every important thing that is in your deck that you need to combo with. So that's kind of a bad thing, I guess. It's not awful. You can win like through fatal pushes and stuff like that, but it's still gonna cause an issue. So also, I don't have a sideboard with this deck yet. I'm still kind of in the works of making a sideboard. It's kind of hard for me to make a sideboard since I don't actually have any money, so I can't afford good sideboard pieces. So that kind of sucks. But anyway, straight into it. There are no 1-drops in the deck. That's an issue, so a lot of your stuff isn't going to happen until like turn 2, turn 3. Turn 4 is the combo turn if everything goes well. So to start off with, we have 4 Wall of Blossoms. And for 1 and a green, you get a 0/4 defender that when it enters the battlefield, you draw a card. It's really good to try to fend off the aggro decks. A lot of the cards in this deck, not a lot, but some cards in this deck get around burn strategies, so like it doesn't die to lightning bolt and stuff like that. But it does die to fatal push and unrevolted fatal push at that. So it just does a really good job of gumming up the ground and the earlier turns. Turn 2 and up against aggro decks are kind of okay. It can be hard, like against like a goblins deck that's just really like fast-paced creatures, a lot of hasty creatures. Next we have Gatecreeper Vine. For 1 and a green, it's a 0/2 defender. When it enters the battlefield, you can search your library for a gate or a basic land, reveal it, put it in your hand, and shuffle. So this helps out a lot with your mana fixing. It helps get the colors that you need if you don't have them in hand. It is a very budget mana base, which is kind of an issue, which also kind of slows down the deck a little bit, but we have decent fixing with Gatekeeper Vines. We're able to search for the color that we need to hopefully stay on curve. Next up is Overgrown Battlement. Now this is your optimal turn 2 play. You want to start with an Overgrown Battlement at possible to get your fastest result of turn 4. For 1 and a green, it's a 0/4 defender that you can tap to add a green for each defender you control. So it really helps accelerate the turns, especially if you go like turn 2 Overgrown Battlement, turn 3 land, Wall of Blossoms, Axebane Guardian, and then your turn 4 is pretty set up. You have a lot of mana fixing, so like colors might not be an issue, but like I said, removal based, heavy removal decks are an issue. Next up is Golgari Charm. I know it's usually a sideboard card, but we run a main board here because it helps against board wipe strategies that isn't Wrath of God. So like Supreme Verdict is a pretty good one. For black and green, At instant speed, you can choose one. Either all creatures get -1/-1 until end of turn, or you can destroy target enchantment, or you can regenerate each creature you control. Now, Golgari Charm is really good in case you are going up against the goblin decks, or like if you can catch an elf deck fast enough to where you can just give all creatures -1/-1, and hopefully the effect is just completely wipe the board on your opponent's side. The destroy target enchantment, I haven't really come across an issue where I needed to use that mode all that much. But the big one is to regenerate each creature you control. In case you're coming across like a lot of like field board wipe effects, it's not really going to get around Anger of the Gods, which is fine. You're to combo off, you don't need that many creatures. You only need 2 defenders in order to combo off. The next card is Mind Grind, and this is for X, blue, and black. Each opponent reveals cards from the top of his or her library until he or she reveals X lands, then puts all cards revealed this way into the graveyard. So basically they mill until they reveal X lands, and X can't be 0. And so hopefully by like turn 4 you can figure out a situation. So like you have like overgrown battlement, axebane guardian, and then one other defender. So turn 4 you could be like untap land, tap overgrown battlement for 3, tap axebane guardian for blue, black, and then a various of any other color, and then tap your 3 lands and mind grind them for X equaling 8 or so. Hopefully that'll be kind of enough with how modern is. They run a lot of fetch lands and stuff like that. So I mean, it might not mill their entire deck, but the good chance of it milling a decent portion is pretty high. Next up we have our Axebane Guardians, and this is your combo piece. This is a kind of an important creature. The deck can win without the combo, but it's the main focus of the deck. So for 2 and a green for 0/3 defender, you can tap it to add X mana in any combination where X is equal to the number of defenders you control. So this is your biggest mana producer since it's able to produce any color. So it helps out a lot with your mana fixing. Hopefully it can accelerate you into the top of our curve, which is 8. So hopefully you can get that on field pretty quickly. Like I said, you don't need to combo to win with this deck. Next is our main combo piece, and that is Villainous Wealth. For X, black, green, and blue, target opponent exiles the top X cards of his or her library, and you may cast any number of non-land cards with converted mana cost X or less without paying their mana cost. So this is where the deck really like blossoms, I guess you could say, because you can either just exile their deck or exile a lot of their deck. Next piece is Pemmins Aura. Now this is how we combo off. This is a 3-card combo because you need Axebane Guardian, Pemmins Aura, and then another defender. What Pemmins Aura does is for 1 blue, you can tap a blue to untap enchanted creature, or tap a blue to give it flying, tap a blue to give it shroud, or you can tap a generic and give it the Aetherling effect of +1/-1 or -1/+1. So the combo here is turn 2 Overgrown Battlement, turn 3 Wall of Blossoms, Axebane Guardian. Turn 4 you can pay your land, tap your Axebane Guardian for 3 blue, and then tap your Overgrown Battlement for the colorless, leaving up a blue, enchant your Axebane Guardian, pay the blue to untap Axebane Guardian, tap it to make blue, use a blue, untap it, and rinse and repeat to get infinite mana in any color that you want. Spend that mana into X for villainous wealth, exile their deck. You can play all their spells if you really want to, or you can just keep the deck exiled if you want the game to go quicker, and then you pass the turn, and they lose the game. So that's our main win condition here. The next card is Sultai Charm. For black, green, and blue, you choose one. Destroy target monocolored creature, destroy target artifact or enchantment, or you can draw 2 cards and discard a card. Now the good thing about Sultai Charm is that it gets around, say, like a Pithing Needle out of sideboard, or a Sorcerer's Spyglass out of sideboard, and it can help with destroying a pesky Death Shadow, since it's an instant that we can pay. Say like Death Shadow got too big for you to block, you can try to destroy it with Sultai Charm, since it's a monocolored creature, so that helps get rid of a pesky creature there. It can help dismantle like Bogles, so like you could break up like their Daybreak Cornet or their ethereal armors and so on and so forth. Sadly, you can't directly affect that deck. You could go after their core Spirit Dancers, I guess you could say, but a lot of Bogles enchantments have totem armor, so that might be a little bit harder. Our next is our combo search piece, and that's Drift of Phantasms. You could also play it as a good creature. So for 2 and a blue, it has Defender, Flying, and Transmute. A Transmute is 1 in a blue. Discard this card, search your library for a card with the same converted mana cost as this card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Play only as a sorcery. So that's where it kind of stinks a little bit, because you have to do it on your turn. But say you don't have a pemmins in your hand, or you need an axebane guardian or anything, you can just transmute this, find the piece that you need, hopefully cast them next turn or cast it on the same turn, or you can just cast it. Since it's an 0/5 flyer with Defender, it's really hard to remove. It doesn't die to Lightning Bolt. It does die to Fatal Push, which kind of sucks. Like I said in the start of the video, a lot of things die to Fatal Push. So that is a thing to keep in mind. Our next is it's a bit of an annoyance card. It's more or less if you want to do the control route, which is capsize. So for 1 blue, you can return target permanent to its owner's hand. Now the good part is that it has buyback. So like as you cast it, you can pay 3 to put it back in your hand after it's resolved. So it doesn't go to the graveyard, it'll go back to your hand. So with infinite mana, you can bounce their entire field, including lands, since it's a target permanent, and just completely shut them out of the game for however long that they want to play. So that's a really good thing. Our next card is our most expensive card in the deck, which is Kruphix, God of Horizons. For 3 blue and green, you get a God. It's just indestructible. As long as your devotion to green and blue is less than 7, he isn't a creature. If unused mana would empty from your mana pool, it becomes colorless instead. So if you don't have your combo pieces, or they keep like killing off your creatures or whatever, and you have a Kruphix, then you can just tap out at the end of your opponent's turn, float a bunch of mana, turns into colorless at the end step, untap, and then you could cast like a Mind Grind using all the colorless mana, or Villainous Wealth for all the colorless mana, or you can hold it up for capsize buybacks. And so that helps out a ton with the deck. It helps accelerate your mana, so you can get to the pay X on those spells, or it helps you cast multiple spells in a turn. And once like it is active, it'll die to Path to Exile, but if you're playing up against a deck that doesn't have that, this is the creature that won't die to their removal base effects, since it's indestructible and it's a 4/7, so it can safely block whatever it is that's coming at you. It does great blocking Death Shadows and other big creatures that don't have trample. I guess you have to worry about Temur Battle Rage, but still, it does a really good job gumming up the ground once it's actually active. To hopefully get you into the late game, mid game, late game where you want to be. Our next card is Prophet of Kruphix. Now, this card is a card that you might not need, but it helps out a ton. So, for 3 green and blue, same cost as Kruphix, you get a 2/3. You untap all your creatures and lands during each other player's untap step, and you can cast creatures as though they had flash. Now, the cool thing about the gods is that they count as creatures anywhere except the battlefield when devotion isn't met. So in your library, it's a creature. Graveyard, it's a creature. In your hand, it's a creature. Exile zone, it's a creature. And so, if you wanted to get tricky about it, you could like end step flash in a Kruphix, maybe float some mana, and then tap out to float a bunch of mana, and then you can pass a turn, and then hopefully they don't have a lightning bolt, because it does die to lightning bolt, but not fatal push. So also dies like terminate and stuff like that. Like I said, removal heavy base decks are where this deck is gonna really downfall a lot. But if they don't have any of that, then you can untap all your stuff and step float a ton of mana into Kruphix to help you cast your mind grinds or your villainous wealths on your turn. So that just helps out a lot. The top of our curve is 8 drop, and that's for Colossus of Akros. For 8 generic mana, you get a 10/10 Defender Indestructible, which helps out a lot because it blocks really well. It has Monstrous 10 for 10 mana, which means that you pay the 10 mana, it gets 10 +1/+1 counters on it. It can attack as though it didn't have Defender as long as it's monstrous. So you get a 20/20 indestructible. It also gains trample. So you get a 20/20 trampling indestructible creature that you can just swing in with. It doesn't die to destroy effects. They have to exile it in some sort of way, which is really good. So that's another backup win condition. There are 4 win conditions total in this deck, and that's Mind Grind, Capsize, Villainous Wealth, and Colossus of Akros. So it's really depending on what you want to do. Do you want to control the field with Capsize? Do you want to exile their deck with Villainous Wealth? Do you want to mill them out with Mind Grind? Or do you just want to stomp face with a 20/20 trample indestructible creature? Usually the turn that you cast Colossus of Akros, you can either monstrous it that turn or the turn after your next turn. So either way, you're going to get, hopefully anyway, I'm going to get a 20/20 trampling indestructible creature. Otherwise, you get a 10/10 indestructible creature, which is really sweet for blocking big creatures. Onto the mana base, it's really budget. As you guys can see, there's no fetch lands or shock lands. It's basics and then kind of bad tap lands. So we run 6 forests, 4 islands, 2 swamps, 4 Opulent Palace, and 4 Jungle Hollow. Opulent Palace is really good. Yes, it enters tapped, but it can add a black, green, or blue. So it helps really well with mana fixing, helping you stay on your colors. Jungle Hollow, it enters the battlefield tapped, but you gain a life, and it can tap for black or green. So in the earlier turns against like the aggro decks, gaining the life helps out a lot. Sometimes it can help against burn decks. 4 life is a lot different than 3, so then you're not just dead to like a lightning bolt, you're dead to like a lava spike, lightning bolt, or Boros charm. So I guess you can't really get around that one. That's the deck that we got today. So that's what we got for today. Hopefully on Friday I can bring you guys a versus match. Hopefully it's a modern FNM event that I can go to and showcase you guys what the deck is capable of against various different decks. But obviously there's simple upgrades that you can make. You can update the mana base so it's like easier mana, faster mana, better mana fixing. But if you guys like the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Look around, watch the other videos, comment, like on them. Leave a comment down below for this video on what you would do with the deck, how you would change it, all that stuff. I'll put a deck list in the description, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.